We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. As if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
Silence! The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. You have meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts.
With Jason Bermas.
And who loves you? And who do you love?
Good morning, everybody. It is Reality Rants. I am Jason Bermas, brought to you by redvoicemedia.com, where we do the second hour uncensored all the time, every time. And honestly, there's going to be a lot in the second hour I can't do here because there was a video today that just made me smile and laugh so hard. And made me think to myself, you know what? This is why I do what I do. Because no matter how hard these people try to convince others of their hate and lies, okay, there are some, no matter what their socioeconomic status is, right, that are just going to say, no thank you and how dare you. And no thank you and how dare you is kind of mild to what I saw today. Now, this is from something in PBS where they're going door to door in the cities with the Fauchter, the Faucherini, the Fauchinista, if you will. And as they're doing, it's just so crazy, man. Okay, it's just so crazy. As they're doing it, this dude is just schooling them. He's giving him the old Schoolie McGee. And he's going off. And they're giving him every single Johnny nonsense bullshit talking point. And they're in the inner city. All right. They're not in a great neighborhood. And this dude, for a minute and a half, he does his thing. He shines light on the darkness so well that I was like, yes. And I can't play that here. I can't, if I play that here, you're banned. Talk about medical misinformation. Oh my goodness. The thought police in full effect on that one. 100%. 100%. So that's a little upsetting. We can't play that. It's really a clip. I may, for my Rockfin audience, because you guys are so good to me, when we leave YouTube, okay, and we leave Twitter, and we leave Rumble, I may hold you over just for that segment because you guys deserve it. I mean, you want to see an actual smile on my face. You might not see one bigger ear to ear when I saw this. This just gave me so much hope for humanity. This is why we fight. Because that guy and everybody around him, to the people at the top, the true predator class, they are the useless eaters on another level. They are the dregs of society, the plebs. All right? And they look at me and you the same way they look at them, with disdain. Okay? With the self-righteousness of a social Darwinist mindset of domination on the rest of us. That's what they're looking at us at. And social Darwinism is something I want to get into in the opening rant here. Of course, we're going to talk about Trump. Tomorrow's supposed to be the big day. You want to talk about an establishment that wants to implode everything through controlled chaos by arresting Trump for absolutely nothing. The walls are closing in. You know, the Blue Anon thing was as big a joke, but really way more harmful than the QAnon nonsense because it had the full steam of the mainstream media and an entire side of the political spectrum on it. We've got them, Russian collusion. We've got them, Ukrainian backdoor deals. What planet are we on? What planet are we on that Trump's phone call with a corrupt Zelensky to look into corruption on Biden, yeah, you made some guy into a hero whistleblower that did nothing but frame something that should have happened in a negative light. In other words, Trump did everything right. 100% perfect phone call. 100%. Yeah. You know what? Maybe we will withhold aid from you if your corruption doesn't stop and we take a look at Burisma in the gang. 100% perfect phone call. Well, hey, you got somebody that's going to frame that as this new thing called election interference that never, ever, ever existed until the establishment decided that now the internet was out of control and that now, because of the way information was spread, it's time to bring in the thought crimes. It's time to accelerate the psychological warfare because they tried really hard with just their misinformation and disinformation campaigns for a long time. And in the rev up to 2016, they thought they had it in the bag, their establishment candidate, the whole nine. All right, they were kind of fun. They thought Trump was kind of fun. It was a big ha 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 ha. We control everything. And they thought they had it in the bag up until the night of election. And no matter how much corruption they had, and there was plenty of it, believe me, I don't believe that Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, just like I don't believe in leprechauns. Okay? You had the same corrupt fractional voting system there, but it just couldn't be rigged enough. Oh, they made sure in the next run, it's a whole different ballgame. And now they don't even want the guy to run. All right? So, and then after the fact, and when I say they, the establishment, Time Magazine in particular, puts out an article talking about the outward collusion that just came a nut's hair away, this far away from probably could have been illegal. Like real election interference, real collusion, real suppression of facts. We know better than you. We are the social Darwinists. And that idea of evolution and Darwin really hit me hard yesterday. It was weird. I was setting this up. This is the new studio, by the way. I have not put up, it might still be a little reverby and echoey because I haven't put up, I did go get another egg crate. I haven't cut it up and put it up on the walls yet. That's probably going on after this. But I was watching Rob Ager, who I'm a big fan of. And Rob Ager does film analysis. And I found Ager's stuff, probably 15 years ago, maybe more than 15 years ago at this point. But I remember the thing that he did the most that impressed me. He's a big Kubrick fan. And if you watch the show, you know I'm a big Kubrick fan. And he talked about 2001, A Space Odyssey, and the meaning of the monolith. Now, when you first watch 2001, A Space Odyssey as a younger person, as I did, you're extremely confused. It doesn't really have the pace of the sci-fi movies that you're used to. There's no talking like the first 25 minutes. And there's definitely puzzle pieces along the way that you're not really even meant to understand, at least on a base level. However, I particularly remember my first run through when I watched the uneasiness and understanding the progression of trying to show the evolution of man from some kind of a primitive ape species into traveling the stars and evolving really into putting themselves into possible obsolescence through AI. right? There's a lot of transhumanism that I didn't realize at the time was transhumanism in that film, but there's a lot of transhumanism in that film. Now looking back at it, it's basically creating your replacement that has the power over your life force. That's pretty wild. And that's, in my opinion, what's happening. So I look at that, and, in the end, humanity wins, right? Dave versus Hal. Dave beats Hal. Man beats machine. Yes. I had never really come at it from the angle of what I heard Rob Ager say on an interview I came across. I think he must have posted it in the last several weeks on his page. And the monolith itself, for the meaning of the monolith, which I think he's correct, really represents the entertainment screen, the movie screen, the screen that we're all attached to at that time to tell narratives. All right, and really how that is a base reality. I mean, that's kind of the representation and the ride you're on throughout this. The monolith is really the movie screen. And I think it also speaks to the power of Hollyweird and their influence on society through backdoor channels. Now, for those that don't know, at the same time he made this film, he and Arthur C. Clarke worked together. Arthur C. Clarke puts together a novel. Arthur C. Clarke, big-time transhumanist, huge transhumanist. And there were a few things that I learned over the weekend which were just mind-blowing to me that I hadn't ever picked this up or hadn't seen it. And it wasn't just Ager's work. We'll go back to Ager in a second. But for instance, for those familiar with the film, in the scene where finally this ape species has been enlightened by the monolith, they've figured out tools and how to use force, right? And basically they figured out now that they can use force against others, and they've figured out how to use tools at a base level, and this takes them into the next step of their evolution. This bone that's been used as a weapon is thrown up into the air. And then the next thing you see, you haven't heard anybody speak throughout the whole thing. All right, incredible film, by the way, still holds up, looks incredible. That's the other thing. It goes up and you see a spacecraft, some kind of a satellite. What I did not know about this, now if you look at this, is that what they're doing is showing you several space weapons, nuclear weapons. Remember, this is 2001. This is from the 60s. So what they're telling you is, all right, and supposedly in the script, they're about 100 miles up, and in the book, they're about 100 miles up as well. So they're actually, in the baseline of the script, they're described as nuclear weapons, and Arthur C. Clarke has discussed how they are nuclear weapons. So the weaponization of space is the first thing you see after this bone that's been used as a weapon is there. And that is actually a reality. Now, whether all these other nation states have nuclear weapons in space, they weaponized space in the 80s outwardly. And I would argue the vast majority of what the NASA program actually was that weaponization of space, right? And something that to me really is undeniable. And it's essential to understand and learn, because going back to Ager, when he was going over the overall meaning of the film, he goes, well, the first thing that I would say, the meaning of this is, the first thing I think is that interstellar space travel or this kind of thing is like bullshit. I'm like, whoa. And he's like, it's not plausible. It's really probably not possible on the scale that we've been told. And it's the darkness of space and the unsure. It's really like a horror film. So right out of the gates, he says that he hints at this throughout the movie. But for those that don't know, this is really a film that not only embraces the idea of Darwinism, but was sold not so much that man was going to defeat AI, but make people look at it in a positive light. And IBM in particular was an investor. NASA worked on the film. I mean, directly on the film. Two head guys at NASA work. So really this presentation that Kubrick gives is a propaganda piece for the establishment in many ways to promote technology and even the idea of eating not real food like the astronauts do. the printed food, and even the artificial food that they eat that we're now seeing come into fruition. Another thing that that grabbed me, really grabbed me when I found out that the first thing that they were talking about were nuclear weapons in space was in the screenplay. It also says that overpopulation in 2001 has overtaken, the other problems in society. It's over. So again, this worldview that we need to go to space, okay, that there's too many of us, everything is there, that we came from apes, and then Kubrick kind of flips it on its head in Ager's mind and says, no, actually, this is a film saying that these things are ludicrous. Now, there's obviously a ton of different theories out there of whether or not the moon landing was a hoax, right? And whether or not Kubrick was behind that. I'll say this about the moon landing, first of all. The Apollo missions, to me, although there is some impressive video, Lord knows, what that is or where it was taken or how they did it, from Kraft, I don't buy it. And I'm not buying Artemis right now. Okay, I really do believe the vast majority of what we're seeing via space is a Hollywood illusion that's based on what we saw in 2001: A Space Odyssey. 100%. And that's the other thing that pierced the culture. You look at even they're changing the colors now, by the way. You look at even that orange color that's featured there in that original spacesuit and how that spacesuit looked. All right, there's a ton of influence there as well. Kubrick's film's a classic. It's 2+ hours. A lot of people will think it's slow. It's not for them, but it's something that you can continue to look at and be like, wow, this is super interesting. And there are a lot of hidden messages, layers to that film. I love those type of films. Love them. All right, let's move it on. Let's talk the Trumpsky and Hutch for a second. If you didn't catch my broadcast yesterday, we kind of did an Ask Me Anything on the subject. I floated around at some of the news, and unfortunately, who do I see in the news talking about this? I see Alan Dershowitz talking about it. Isn't that great? The Dersh. Old Dershky and Hutch. That's good, isn't it? It's always great when Alan Dershowitz comes to your side. So, speaking to that aspect of it, there's a failure of the Trump administration. What do you mean? Why is Dershowitz a failure of the Trump administration, Jason? Well, in the, I believe it was the second impeachment, Dershowitz was like the head lawyer in a slam dunk case you didn't need to hire Alan Dershowitz for. And there's no need to hire Alan Dershowitz ever. You know why? Because Alan Dershowitz, although he claims to have not committed any crimes with him, was very much a part of Epstein. Okay? That whole Epsteinage network and defending old Epstein and the Palm Beach deal. Mr. Dershowitz and Epstein together again for the very first time. So if you're trying to drain the swamp, and you're trying to really say that you're not part of any kind of deep state apparatus, you don't use Alan Dershowitz. So Dershowitz has come out and said, look, of course Trump had sex with Stormy Daniels. Shocker. And of course this hush money was paid. Shocker. And of course he lied. Shocker. All things I've been discussing for years is I don't give a mother truckins. Okay, it doesn't make one bit of a difference to me. I knew who Trump was before he was elected, and I know who he is now. Okay? So let's get that out of the way. Already knew that was on the table there, Trumpers. Trump will do. He says, but it was to hide it from his wife. And that's different than lying to the American public. And really, again, are we going back to Clinton and cigars and the whole shebango? Now we're talking 24 or 5 years ago. 24 or 5 years ago. We're going back to that. That's it. I mean, it might be 25, 98. Maybe that scandal was. Maybe 99. And it's another one where at the time, when I was, a teenager about to be 20-something, really should have been a non-story. Oh, wow, our president. He's got his Dinkelschnink and the intern. And there's a lot more to that story. There's questions of whether or not that was a honeypot operation for Israel via Lewinsky. And that's a good question to ask. Whether or not that involved Mega or the Mega Group. That's another good question to ask. It's out there. It's out there. But with Trump and Stormy Daniels, it was just like, oh, so a high-end hooker / porn star had sex with a guy with a lot of money and 3 on his third wife. And then he said, you shut your mouth and here's some money. And she said, okay. And now we're here. And like I said, this person's going to do whatever because it's good for their career. Because and believe me, if Trump was on that end, if Trump was Stormy, he'd be doing the same thing. He'd be doing the same thing. Because Trump loves to manipulate the media too. Now, the establishment loves this because, and they know they have a nothing case. Let's get that out of the way. They know they have this is huge headlines everywhere. Will take up the news cycle, takes the pressure off the banking collapses. In our face, banking collapses are happening now. All right, controlled financial implosions, the stock market, Ukraine. All right, who's talking about East Palestine anymore? Just take it all off. Inflation still not transitory. Layoffs everywhere in big tech. Think about that. You got these companies laying off 1, 5, 10,000 people at a time every couple of weeks now. The Amazons of the world, the Facebooks of the world. Here comes Instagram. They're all goodbye. See ya. Now, and these are people with some cushy, sometimes 6-figure gigs that aren't so cushy in that area. I mean, all of a sudden, they're going to have to move. They're not going to make rent. Going to destroy some real estate markets. And, inflation's going in. And maybe their bank collapses. Boy, this is a great distraction, especially if they don't let them out. Like, if they don't just... First of all, the perp walk is going to be... In some senses, it'll be epic, right? In some senses, it will be epic because, you're going to see meme after meme after meme after meme after meme after meme after meme on this one. This is going to be used as a propaganda tool for decades. If we're around, guys, if we're still around as a human species, if we win, if we beat Hal and the gang, go Kubrick, Team Human, okay? For a long time, he's the new Hitler. That's the cartoon level stuff, right? He's the new Hitler. It says cartoon level, he's coming to save the world. None of it. That's not what's happening, unfortunately. I wish it were happening. I wish we had a hero to save us. At the same time, the people should be able to vote for the guy they want. And he's wildly popular. So now they're trying to push citizens into some kind of physical conflict. They are, in a sense, trying to set up J6 2.0. But they already have so many units within the FBI and the NSA and the CIA that have subdivisions within the signature reduction program and assets that's like almost a foregone conclusion. It's like, tell me something I don't already know. Okay? Shocker. All right. I want to hit some of these videos. A lot of these videos, I'm actually not even going to be able to play on YouTube, including you have a member of parliament just going off lately. Going off. We got a new video of Andrew Brigham, and I think we played We may have played him on the Thursday show in the second hour, but he is hot fire right now, okay? A couple of stories out there, and I want to put into the public arena. I didn't grab the video for the one, but there's a video out there, whether it's true or not, I don't know, claiming that in rural parts of Illinois, the CDC is setting up trailers, and they are going door to door and asking residents who may or may not have dipsy-doodled, dipsy-danced, maybe may not have dipsy-danced according to the video, to come on in. And we'd like to run some tests on you, and maybe we'll pay you a little scratchola. Maybe we'll give you a little cheese for it. And this person said, I got like a mile plus long dirt road. They came and they talked to me, and it was either her boyfriend or husband or something like that. And it was very creepy, and they didn't get him on camera. Now, another video I can't play, but I will play in the second hour. This woman was way nicer than I would ever be with the FBI. The FBI showed up because of some posts apparently saying to fight back against the big cheese. And I'm not talking about Joey Bizzle, not Joey B, not Zombie J, not even Kakamala Harris, the cackle monster. No, I'm talking about a little thing called Pfizer. What? The one that sponsors all the... made some posts that were against a corporation, and the FBI showed up. Now, if the FBI ever shows up to my home for any reason, under any circumstance, we go live right away. We go live right away. It's like, without a doubt, right now, let's go live. We need to do that. And you can talk to me live, and I'm going to put your face out there because you're the same people, all right, that worked for an organization, that currently work for an organization that are the COINTELPRO crowd, all right? And by the time whether they worked there for 20 years or not, you should have known that. Okay, you're the COINTELPRO crowd. You're the cover-up 9/11 crowd. You're the push the war on terror crowd, okay? And then, on top of all that, you're the Russia crowd. Yeah, there's no reason you're the let's sign a deal via Mueller with Epstein crowd. That's who you work for. And you want to show up to my door and start talking to me because I made a post saying to stand up against a multi-billion-dollar corporation? Wow. No, that's not that's not really fascism. Come on. Give me a break. Of course, that's the definition of fascism. So, first one that I want to play. All right, there's a couple of pretty big ones. Okay, I want to play this because this is the ex-head of Mossad, and we talk about global events, global turmoil. This is something nobody's talking about. And Netanyahu seizes power again, and now that one of the guys that Netanyahu was cronies with, probably one of the most ruthless individuals. And I mean that, by the way. If you're running the Central Intelligence Agency at any point, you are probably pretty ruthless. If you're running the Israeli Mossad at any point, you are probably pretty ruthless. All right? It's part of the gig. Part of the gig. This guy right now is warning what Netanyahu, Mr. Genetic Database, is doing over there. That's how wild things have gotten. So let's go to that video clip.
So why do you think he's taken such a risky move? Because not only have you laid out the risks from your side of the fence, but the governor of the Bank of Israel has also said that this is, crazy. Others have appealed to the president to, quote, stop this insanity, your president. Some have, said that it could cause civil war. Why do you think Bibi Netanyahu has taken this step? Not to mention, criticism and concern from major allies like the United States?
I'm not a psychologist, and I don't pretend to be a psychiatrist either, but I believe that the Benjamin Netanyahu of today is not the Benjamin Netanyahu that I knew when he appointed me head of Mossad. And I grieve for this, but I cannot accept that he should continue and lead the country. And I believe, therefore, that if no solution is found to put this new project of his into wraps and never to be unwrapped, then I think we will be entering a situation of a non-constitutional divide.
On a certain level, if just as a layperson you hear this, and it doesn't sound good.
All right, let's stop that right there, and we're going to get to the rest of it in a moment. So first things first, okay, take a look at that. And, as far as not being the same person, I would say, just another social climbing politician, a minion of the predator class, very much a globalist with nationalist interests, especially when it comes to Israel and its expansionism. All right, that's again real, and we have to acknowledge that. But to have somebody from the Mossad come out and say, "Hey, he's ready. This is it." Whoa, whoa! I don't like checkpoints. I don't like expansionism. I don't like automated Johnny nonsense weapons. All right, that can take lives. And Netanyahu is, again, one of those guys. Talk about a hardliner. Look at what the Israeli people themselves, forget about the settlement stuff and the Gaza Strip and all that controversy. All right, look what he did to his own people during the COVID 1984 nightmare. And there's a headline. I don't even want to read the headline. I don't even want to read the headline here. We can't. In fact, we're not going to read it. We're just going to show it. This is the Telegraph right now. Of course, this is a comment or an opinion piece. Read the headline. Yeah, no kidding. Lots of stuff to talk about in that second hour. By the way, thumbs it up, subscribe, and share. Remember, we do this Monday through Thursday, bright and early, 8 a.m. Eastern, every single week. And you can go to redvoicemedia.com/Jason or /uncensored. Support the broadcast by spending $1 for the first week, $10 a month, or lock it in for the entire year at $100. RVM Network is exploding. Matt Couch doing a daily show as well. Fired Up with Chad Canton is on today. Drew Berquist. And of course, Ray does the roundup a lot as well over on this network. And we are continuing to expand. So you like what we do here. You want to see the Fauchinator going through a rugged neighborhood, getting schooled. Again, it's the feel-good. It's the feel-good clip of the year. I promise you guys. It's the feel-good clip of the year. Now, by the way, we don't even have 100 thumbs up over on YouTube. Can we do it? Same on Rumble. We need to share this on Rumble. Let's rumble it up across Twitter, across Getter, across Truth Social, all these networks, right? All of them. And again, bad move on Trump to get involved with the Dersh. You don't want Dershowitz defending you on national television. It's like, here's another one. Sean Hannity. Not my favorite, never been my favorite, never going to carry water for Sean Hannity. Tunnel to Towers is an organization that helps veterans, first responders who get injured in the line of duty carry on with their lives by either renovating their home into a smart home or giving them a smart home. Okay? It buys up all these communities. Actually, a really great charity. This guy, I'm not knocking the guy who does the charity. Okay, at all. However, and one of the sponsors is Mark Wahlberg. We've talked about Wahlberg on this. I don't like to go out on a limb and say there's some things dumb that he said, but recently gave some really interesting comments on Ash Wednesday. We played those. At least he's trying to be a positive role model in Hollywood after doing some questionable things in his youth, right? So, I'm losing my thought here. I'm talking about Marky Mark. On Hannity, they bring on Conor McGregor. All right, somebody who, when you look at it, he's just the best guy ever, right? They've got him coaching tough. The UFC, WME Entertainment, right? Disney, ESPN, they're all in the business now of selling his next fight versus Michael Chandler. And I hope Michael Chandler mops him. I hope finally someone ends his career. Sorry. The only cage Conor McGregor needs to be in are the ones that hold criminals that don't stop attacking women, men. I mean, men are one thing, but for those out there that have a mom, a sister, a daughter, a niece, a cousin, a friend who's a woman, might not want to support this guy. So Sean Hannity decides to bring this piece of human garbage on his show with the Tunnel to Towers guy. Now, look, the Tunnel to Towers dude, I don't blame you, man. You want as many eyeballs on this thing as possible. I can't expect that you look into the news about, people allegedly being assaulted and jumping off of boats, people allegedly being hospitalized in manners that we're not even going to go into on the program today. We can't be held accountable there, right? You don't know that. But to bring him on, and he drops F-bombs on Hannity on live television with his, I got a big old check, boy. Oh, look at me. I'm a family man. We love the first responders. Prison. That man belongs in prison. But you know what? He makes people a lot of money. Oh, you're trying me apple whiskey, boy. Oh, proper 12. I mean, really. Terrible person. Horrible person. A microcosm for the dark circus that we're in. Joe Biden, terrible person, horrible person. Hunter Biden, terrible person, horrible person. And now even the mainstream media on the left, like CNN's trying to get some kind of credibility, I don't know, is admitting through the lawsuit on Hunter that's, oh boy, oh. Just we're in crazy town. Hunter is suing this guy for giving the laptop to all these people. It's not just a laptop, a bunch of hard drives. Or I don't even know. I've said this from the beginning. I'm not even sure that Hunter Biden is the one that dropped. Maybe he's the one that dropped off these laptops. Maybe. I don't know. I wasn't there. Hey, is it possible it wasn't him? I think it is. All right. And is it possible? Lord knows what you're doing when you're smoking that much crack and you're with that many hookers. You're pretty compromised. And you're cutting backdoor Burisma deals into Ukraine, Chinese style. Just unreal. So now you have the media being like, well, it is kind of a bad look. It's kind of a bad look. Let's get to that.
On a certain level, if just as a layperson, you hear this, and it doesn't sound good. There's a guy whose name is John Robinson Walker. He gets $3 million from a Chinese-based company and proceeds to wire it out to a bunch of people named Biden, one of whom is Hunter Biden. Another one is a company that belongs to the president's brother, James Biden, and another amount of money to Beau Biden's widow, Hallie. So, again, from a layperson, that doesn't look good.
No, it doesn't look good to a layperson. Again, speaking down to you like you're enough. To a layperson, to a child. To one of the plebs, that could look bad. To a voter. The amount of disdain they have for the public is incredible. Incredible. And so here's something that you won't see on CNN, but really haven't seen on Fox News either, right? They're just against the poot as much as everybody else. They're Putins. Get that poot out of here. Okay? Putins. So this is what it looks like when people get out in the street. And let's see if we ever get it here in the United States when we're talking about the United Nations or the World Health Organization or any number of these globalist outlets. Real globalists. I know Jason's using the dog whistle term of the globalists. They're outwardly about globalization and global governance. They're outwardly about techno-fascistic bureaucracies of authoritarianism, a.k.a. total fascism. Total fascism. And they're all based in collectivism. Call it communism, call it socialism, call it any other ism you want. The one to really look at is collectivism. The idea that it's not the rugged individual that has inherent rights granted to them by God, but instead an authority at the top that knows best for the rest of society and dictates and regiments all the human beings of that society. And you don't have, quote unquote, God-given rights.
Sortons vite de l'OTAN. Sortons vite de l'OTAN.
So, again, in Europe, in France, the French actually get out there. People forget the yellow vest movement. The French actually get out there and do their thingo. Okay, that's just, again, just a fact. They do it. They do it to it. So there's a clip I want to play of Davy Rockefeller, okay? And David Rockefeller is one of those guys, in my mind, that is a quote-unquote architect of the modern day New World Order movement. He has openly discussed in his books that he and his family have colluded with others against the best interests of the United States. I mean, amazing. I mean, an actual quote that he stands guilty of charge of doing all that. Some people would call that treasonous. He'd like to call it a bestseller. Again, it's... And the reason I want to call him an architect is because this was, don't get me wrong, a lot of Rockefellers out there in government and business, and obviously John D. is Daddy Empire and Daddy Strong Arm when it came into the oil game and building his family up to be part of the robber baron class, or the predator class, if you will. But David was really the golden child in that he was naval intelligence. He learned a lot of discipline. And from not only the discipline, he also learned the tools of the trade of making connections, of interconnecting people, of having relationships, of drawing people together under a common goal. Okay? And this clip in particular of that quote-unquote common goal is one to preach climate change and overpopulation. And back in the day when he was doing this, he would talk about pollution, right? But the only pollution that's really discussed at this point is not nuclear pollution, not really plastics and what they're doing and how they're leaching into the system, or even the big pharma or the GMO pollutants, in my opinion, right? Not that stuff. No. Now it's nature. Now it's carbon and nitrogen and methane. Okay? It's nature. So it's always been about regulating people and nature. I mean, go back to what I was discussing about 2001: A Space Odyssey, and how I was taken aback that, again, they were telling you in 2001, back in the 60s, this idea of the establishment, they love that, overpopulation, there's just too many people. It's just always just too many damn people. So let's get to that clip. I want to make sure we get there. Bappity boo and skibbity bop. And with a little skibbity dibbity dibbity do. Thumbs it up, subscribe, and share, and get ready for a little bit of David Rockefeller.
The negative impact of population growth on all of our planetary ecosystems is becoming appallingly evident. The rapid growing exploitation of the world's supply of energy and water is a matter of deep concern, and the toxic byproducts of widespread industrialization have increased atmospheric pollution to dangerous levels.
So there it is. Atmospheric pollution. Now it's all about carbon. But it's always about too many people doing too many things. Let me repeat it. Too many people doing too many things, according to David and the gang. Weird. Say, why is that? It's always too many people doing too many things. And by the way, did I mention there are too many people doing too many things?
Unless nations will agree to work together to tackle these cross-border challenges posed by population growth, overconsumption of resources, and environmental degradation, the prospects for a decent life on our planet will be threatened.
They're the ones degrading the planet, all right? They're the ones taking control of the resources. When I say they, it's their businesses. Not me and you guys. We're not making those decisions. They've made those decisions.
The recent UN meeting in Cairo is appropriately focused on one of these key issues, population growth. But the controversies which have erupted at the conference illustrate the problem of coming to grips with issues that are deeply divisive and which have a profound moral dimension. The United Nations can and should play an essential role in helping the world find a satisfactory way of stabilizing world population.
Oh, the old stabilization of world population. Where have I heard that before? Oh, that's right. It's in the NASA document. Oh, that's right. It's Club at Rome. It's the Committee of 300. It's United Nations. It's World Health Organization. All stabilize the world's population. Let's just stabilize away, David.
And stimulating economic development in a manner that is sensitive to religious and moral considerations.
Yeah, he cares about religious and moral considerations. You better believe it. That's what Davy Rockefeller cares about.
Economic growth is, of course, an inevitable corollary of a growing population and is essential to improved standards of living. But without careful coordination, unrestrained economic growth poses further threats to our environment. This was a major subject of discussion at the conference in Rio de Janeiro on the environment 2 years ago. The focus then was on sustainable growth and global development. It was pointed out at the conference that growth is most efficiently managed by the private sector.
Oh, let's let the techno-fascism.
But regulation of the process by national governments and international bodies is also needed. And once again, the United Nations should certainly be among the catalysts and coordinators of this process.
In fact, John D. Rockefeller Jr.
So again, there's John D. with David. Actually, that might not even be David as a young man. Could be. Boy, John, he really ended up looking like a human monster at the end. But he lived a long life. But at the end of the day, and so did David. At the end of the day, mortality is going to get you. All right. So I got one more video before we end up going to premium that I want to play. And I think that this is an important video to play because, as I've been saying, I think it's a good thing that O'Keefe and Project Veritas broke up. I think that it is a good thing that you have competing organizations that are going to go after corruption. And here is a recent Project Veritas video sting of somebody who is talking about getting the youth into this trans state of mind, the puberty blocker transhumanist state of mind. See, at the end of the day, this is transhumanism. And this person who's supposedly, I think, a reverend of some sort, and obviously an openly gay man, is talking about utilizing basically the church at first to try to get these youth into meetings behind their parents' back. And now the library is a tool. So yeah, let's use the church and the education system the best we can to openly indoctrinate children into this ideology. Now, no big deal, right? No big deal.
I know we're like this close to having parents who are wreaking. In my mind, how communities thrive is through intergenerational relationships. So I and the older queer folks are mentoring these young adults. Have you talked to your kids about puberty? Have you considered blockers?
How critical is it, do you think,
Critical.
to get them when they're young?
Critical. We used to meet at the church because it was free, and kids would say they're going to youth group. We moved to the library because kids said they were meeting their friends at the library.
Isn't this great? Isn't that awesome? Kids, children, this guy talking to your kids and children. How are the Star Wars guy? Yes, looks like a mini Lucas. How are so many of these people not in jail? How are we allowing this agenda? I'll tell you how. It's going nowhere, because at the end of the day, at every nook and cranny, every way the establishment can, they want to challenge your humanity and what it means to be human. Okay? Another really interesting thing that Rob Ager said in this interview when he was talking about Kubrick and 2001: A Space Odyssey and the absurdity of space travel, all right, and how it really is not a real thing. It's a Hollywood thing. And again, if the theme of it is that you're watching things through the perspective of a screen, right, and you're taking this evolutionary journey of the mind and of the spirit, you realize that you can be convinced through fake things. You know, there's a few continuity errors, few tricks in there that you know that you're watching a film that are kind of amplified on purpose. One of the really interesting ones to me that kind of lets you know that you're watching something that's not real, that's fake, that can't be true in reality, is when you were first introduced to Floyd, who is the scientist who basically knows about the monolith, okay, and they've discovered this monolith on the moon, and he's come to the moon base. He's the first major character, and he's running propaganda for the state and running the cover stories, etc. But he goes to sit down and talk about kind of what's going on in the cover stories, acting innocent with the Russians. Okay, and now this is an international type space station. It's so funny. What the ISS that they give us in this, and the moon bases that they give us, a total fiction in reality, even 2023, really, I think makes the case that that's kind of what Kubrick was saying, that some of this technology is just not there. It might never be there. But there's a woman that has a blue shawl on there, right? And it's on her chair. And then they cut, even though obviously it's just a cut where they go from one person to the other, no time has passed. And it's gone. It's on the chair and it's gone. You say, oh, well, that's just a regular continuity error. Well, later on, as they're walking through, someone over the loudspeaker talks about how a missing blue garment has been found and where they can come pick it up. Now, it didn't just magically disappear, right? It didn't just magically get taken away. It's there to give you the realization you're watching an illusion. And we're watching illusions constantly. So whether they can get you to inject some hate and lies that might change you a little bit, or they can get you to do a little surgery or take some pills that change you a little bit, they want it. They don't want a traditional man and a woman. They don't want human biology. They don't want the idea that you're special and that you have some type of a creator that is a deity beyond us. They want to make human beings the gods. Okay, that's another theme in that film, 2001: A Space Odyssey. I'm just gonna keep coming back to it. All right, so let's go back to this clip. We got a few more minutes. This is Project Veritas, and this is, in my mind, this guy is a monster among us. Somebody we should totally be keeping our eyes on.
So it's not lying, but it's not fully the truth. When they know that their queer kid is coming to me for support, they're going to be upset. It's when you are purposely misgendering them, when you are purposely not using their name, do you handle that? I call CPS.
But that's your standard protocol.
F yeah, we call CPS on parents. Wow. Child Protective Services on you if you're concerned that your kid is being groomed by an individual like this who's trying to push puberty blockers. That's where we're at. Pretty crazy. And again, ask yourself, is Veritas continuing to do good work? If they are, bite the bullet and just say, all right, this is actually a good thing that they split. I mean, it's okay to be wrong sometimes, guys. It's okay to be wrong sometimes. And so many people went after Veritas. Keep doing your thing, Veritas, if you're putting this stuff out.
We want these kids to thrive and survive. We must get to their parents first.
Meet Reverend Casey Tinnen of Loomis Basin Congregational Church in Loomis, California. Casey is also the founder of The Landing Spot, a nonprofit community center meant to create, quote, a safe, supportive, and empowering space for LGBTQIA plus youth and
LGBTQIA plus. And that's the new moniker. Good stuff. That sounds like a real thing. I hate to even say it. Like, come on. That's the unicorn line. All right? Do you get it? That's the unicorn line. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. You can be anything you want. And it used to be that you could grow up and you could be anything you want career-wise. And hey, while we're talking about space, an astronaut was one of them, ladies. Right? When they were trying to sell you, even then, think about the culture that was sold to us as young people. Firemen, police officers, astronauts, if you were really, whoa. And it was this society of us looking out for one another and trying to go to the stars. But what was it really? Building an authoritative police state, not your neighborhood protect and serve cop. Weaponizing space. Not we're traveling and we're going to share the technology. Instead, we're going to use it to manipulate people. Wow, they really screwed us over on that one. And then even teachers were aggrandized. And look at what's happened to our teachers. Look at what's happened to our culture via religion. And there were demons in the school systems always. And there were always demons in the religious systems. Mainly, a lot of those demons are there because they want access to children. Look at Hassert. Dennis Hassert, labeled a serial child molester by a judge. Is he in jail? No. Where did a lot of his alleged activity occur? In the school system. Just saying. Oh, we are T-minus 2 minutes or so, everybody, from going over to the premium end of the broadcast and getting our Fauci on. Are you ready? Guys, this is Smiley McClippage. This is where it's at. I can't get enough of this clip. I'm not going to lie. It's so good. It's so good. So if you want to see this clip, again, come on over, or you can just listen for free, by the way. The Podbean, the Infowarrior.podbean.com. We do it live. I do want to remind everybody I'm a documentary filmmaker. Loose Change, Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order to Find, and Shade the Motion Picture are free right here, right now, for everybody, all the time, every time. I want you to watch those, share them with others. I mean, watch Shade. If you saw some of the watch along in the premium portion of the broadcast last week, how ahead of the curve are we? That's something that's very shareable at this point. Something that, in my mind, needs to be shared more and more. Okay, very proud of that. We're also on all sorts of outlets, including band.video. Some of our videos get some decent traction over here at Band. Some of them get better traction than anywhere else. I mean, when you got 22,000 views on a video that I think combined, even Rumble style between both and Rockfin and YouTube don't make that. It's another great outlet. I want to thank those that are watching there. Don't worry, I'm going to keep my promise, Rockfin. We're 75,000 strong, and we're going to at least keep you over for the Fauci video. The Fauci video is good times, everybody. And if you're not subscribed and you're watching on YouTube, what are you waiting for? Why aren't you subscribed? We do it live Monday through Thursday. Also, other great videos throughout the week, including what? Including a little mixed martial mindset. We talked about the skeletons in Barney Frank's closet. And then had a special broadcast yesterday. A stormy arrest for Trump has arrived. Talk to the audience like you know we love to do. So with that being said, let's start signing off one at a time, and then we're going to get to the Fauchinator, Sir Fauch